Mike, busy month for you, yeah? I mean, what could this month mean just in terms of your entire life, man?
Yeah, exactly. This, all these fights are big, but expanding my family is obviously a lot more important and is going to last a lifetime. So it's, it was precarious timing a couple weeks before my fight, but I believe when these circumstances arise, the human spirit is able to continue to find extra energy, extra things inside of them to be able to make it happen, and I made it happen. It was, it was a couple days of traveling and moving around and staying in a hotel and staying in a hospital, but huge blessing at the end, and I'm excited to go home and be a dad of two.
Yeah, I could see it as both. I could see it as being, man, this is a lot. This is a challenge. Like, this is biting off more than we could chew. Why did we put these two things so close together? But I could also see it giving you a lot of inspiration and putting you in a great mood for fight week.
Yeah, and it's the age-old saying, you want to hear God laugh, you just tell him your plans, and he's going to supersede your expectations, and he's going to give you some interesting timing. This is how it was. We actually thought he was supposed to be born in March, and then he ended up being born in April. So it was he was born at the exact right time, exactly when it was time for him to come out and meet the world and meet his new mom and dad. So we're blessed by it all, and we're excited about the future. I'm just trying to obviously stay focused on the task at hand and be fighter on Saturday and then a father of two on Sunday.
So the task at hand is Tony Ferguson, and I feel like this is probably a fight that you've kind of mentally already prepared for years ago. Like, you kind of thought this was going to be your first fight in the UFC, yeah?
I did, yeah. I remember when we spoke the first time, Tony Ferguson was the first guy on our radar, with the guy that I wanted to fight first. And that was, mainly because Tony was a mainstay in the lightweight division. He was that guy where if you get past Tony Ferguson, you legitimize yourself. He turned down the fight, which was, made sense. Poirier turned down the fight, and then obviously we ended up with Dan Hooker, and that ended how it did. And here we are now, almost a year and a half later, where me and Tony are going to get to compete against each other.
I know you've been talking about Ferguson a lot, and everybody knows, he's a 12-fight win streak, all of a sudden lost 3 in a row, and pretty convincingly. What do you make of it? Why has that happened from your perspective? What do you think is going on with Tony?
Well, from my perspective, I think he's fought the toughest guys on the planet at 155 pounds. The UFC is the cream of the crop when it comes to mixed martial artists on the planet, and he is consistently fighting top 5 guys. When you talk about Gaethje, Oliveira, and Dariush, those are the toughest guys on the planet. 2 of those guys are fighting for the title. 2 of those guys I lost to. Same can be said for me with 2 losses in a row. You look at my record, okay, I'm not that good, but you look at my record and you look at the strength of schedule and you look at how I've put myself out there. It's just any given night we can lose to any of these guys, And if you don't think that's true, you're kind of just kidding yourself, and you're not giving the respect that this sport deserves. So last 16 months, back up for a title fight, Dan Hooker, Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, and now Tony Ferguson. My strength of schedule speaks for itself, and I'm living the dream.
That's so crazy. Your schedule's been so nuts, I forgot that you were back up. I literally forgot that happened.
Yeah, and that was actually hard, honestly. It's one thing to go through a training camp and cut the weight and get a fight and a paycheck at the end. It's a completely separate thing to do it where there's a very small sliver of a chance that you're going to fight, especially when you're talking about Khabib and Justin Gaethje. Those guys always show up. So that was a tough one, but it was what I needed to do to come in and make myself known inside the organization.
What you're saying is absolutely correct. He has fought the best. There's a difference between the way in which you lost your fights and the way in which he lost his. And that almost suggests of, like, is there something else going on with him that is leading to actually poor performances? And of course you could lose to one of the best guys with even a good performance. But when you've been seeing Tony fight the best guys, yes, he is fighting the best guys. But have you seen something that makes you wonder, like, what's going on here with these performances by Tony?
I'll be completely honest with you, and maybe this is my chosen ignorance. When you think about, I knew I was going to fight Tony, right? I knew I was going to fight Tony eventually, but I chose to be ignorant to the fact that I was going to accept that he may have lost a step, that maybe he's getting slower, that maybe his performances are getting worse, because those are all excuses that you can put in your chamber to not train hard, to not be disciplined, to not put the work in. You got to expect the toughest opponent on the entire planet, the toughest Tony Ferguson that we've ever seen, a Tony Ferguson with his back up against the wall who's going to come out swinging. on a 3-fight losing streak. So, yeah, it looks as though he's lost a step here and there when you watch some of these performances. I will concede that, but in my mind, he's the toughest Tony Ferguson. He's the Tony Ferguson on that 12-fight win streak. So maybe that's ignorance is bliss on my part.
Yeah, I mean, it's you kind of like your self-preservation. You have to do
exactly.
that, right?
So that's a great way to put it. Self-preservation, exactly.
Are you curious, like to get around him this week? I know you're a guy who like watches interviews, tries to take off, like, to get little pieces here and there of information from what these guys are saying. You curious to be around him?
I got to be honest. I mean, obviously we haven't seen him on Embedded much because I don't know if he gives access to the Embedded crew or whatnot.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be on it, which is fine. That's his prerogative. But yeah, I've been seeing some of the interviews come out, and he's definitely a little salty, definitely a little angry. But once again, that adds fuel to my fire. That okay, I need to have everything set. I need to have everything ready and be prepared on Saturday night to go out there and fight the toughest guy that we've seen in a while. Tony is that way though. He's a media favorite and a fan favorite because of his off the wall personality.
Yeah. After what happened in New York, do you want chaos? Do you want fight of the night, or are you looking at this
Never.
as like, I'm going in? I can make a statement on this, and it's not going to be as exciting as the last one was in terms of back and forth.
Yeah, I tell you what, I love the fans, and I love to give the fans a good return on their investment for buying pay-per-views and buying a seat inside these arenas for the UFC, these UFC events. I want to give them a good return on their investment when I step inside the octagon. But there's nothing I love better than getting a quick finish, get my hand raised, collecting a paycheck, and kissing my wife, and this time kissing my son as well, because he's going to be sitting there front row with my wife. So,
oh, nice. Had that ever happened before?
No. So I'm excited about that. So that's another added motivation to finish him early, so I don't put my son through a 15-minute war too.
For sure. And some guys, even Cowboy, like Cowboy's on this card, and he's talked about it, like, you maybe don't even know how you're going to feel walking out knowing that your son is watching for the first time. Like, could that be maybe you don't know what that's going to feel like? Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I will trust myself to handle it in a professional manner, to be able to compartmentalize it. Then again, who knows? I may lose it on the way there. Who knows? But I think the fighter Michael is bulletproof in a lot of ways. So when I become fighter Michael on Saturday night, and I get those hands wrapped and those UFC gloves on, and they're taped up, and they call my name, and I make the walk, I go do what I've done now 30 times. This is my 30th professional fight, which for me is a milestone, and I feel extremely blessed to have done it, this sport of mixed martial arts, and competed at this high of a level for so long, and provided for my family, and ultimately creating a legacy. So I'll try not to think about it too much, but I can't wait to hug him after.
All right, I'll ask you one more thing. You've cut some great promos already in your very short UFC career. I have a prediction that if you win on Saturday, we're going to hear a promo on Conor McGregor. Is it?
I got a heck of a promo.
It's written.
Ready for you.
It's ready to go.
I actually stayed up till 1 a.m. last night, tossed and turned for like 2 hours, and I kept going over it with my head. And I didn't want to. I had a bunch of other things I was thinking about, all positive things. Sometimes we start visualizing, and it actually amps us up and gets us more excited when you're supposed to be trying to sleep. And then I would just okay, what should I do? Pray and meditate and focus on my breathing, try to fall asleep. And then I would go right back to, thinking about the fight and thinking about the call outs and thinking about what's next. Because I do think there's going to be a very large explosive fight for me this fall, this winter, whether it's Conor, whether it's for the title. There's not an MMA fan on the planet who watches ESPN and MMA that doesn't want to see me fight Charles Oliveira again, or Justin Gaethje, especially Justin Gaethje again. In a 5-round title fight, you kidding me? Everybody wants to see that. So this sport is all left up to time and circumstance, and it would be the right time for me, again, obviously, and the circumstances will be right. People want to see me rematch those guys, and if not, Conor's got to come back and fight somebody, so why not me?
Yep. So let me ask you actually one more. Justin, Charles, the bell sounds. What do you see happening in that fight?
Man, it's so tough. I would never in a million years bet against Justin Gaethje, but Charles Oliveira has continued to prove us wrong and exceed our expectations. Charles Oliveira has come into a new persona. He has left the old, quitter, or the old guy who didn't make weight, or the old guy who had a spotty track record of ups and downs and bad performances. He has left that man behind, and he is a new man. He's a new creation inside the lightweight division. He sees himself as the champion, and all of us have started to give him that respect that he finally deserves. But if I had to say, even as complete as Charles is, even though he landed that perfect left hook on me, even though he's got phenomenal ground game, I think Justin Gaethje is hard to take down. He's got good wrestling. He's got ridiculous cardio. He does not go out. He can't finish him. And he will fight till the bitter end for a hard 25 minutes. So I think my money's on Justin Gaethje, which once again solidifies me as the number one contender to fight him next by the end of the year.
Yep. Appreciate it, man. Always enjoy our talks, and congratulations on your son.
Sir. Thanks, Brett. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.